This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. In previous class, we discussed about Jboss cluster in standalone mode, how to configure Jboss cluster in standalone mode. So we can have number of copies in Jboss. We can do the configuration changes, which profile we're using, like either standalone full HTML file or standalone full.xml file. Any of the profile, standalone full HA or standalone HA profile. So in these two profiles, having high availability to provide the cluster. So we can use any of the profile to build a cluster, and we have tried to start multiple JBoss instances in the cluster. You could see that how the cluster members are communicating each other with the help of JGroup channels. Okay, if any cluster member is adding, that information will be taken care of by JGroup channels. If any another cluster member is leaving, that information also taken care by JGroup channels. And where any application deployed, that information will be taken care by Jacob's channels. Okay. In standalone mode, we can have each instance can have one admin console. We have to manage that. We do not have for all the instances. We cannot manage single admin console as we discussed in previous class. So, what is domain mode? What is domain mode? This is the domain architecture. So, in domain mode setup, we'll have a host one. The host one is called domain controller. Okay, domain controller contains multiple host controllers. Multiple host controllers. Host control contains multiple instances. Multiple instances. So this is called master. Domain controller called master. Host controller called slave. Okay. Once we added host controller to the domain controller, okay, we can create multiple instances under host controller with the help of server groups. Okay, with the help of server groups. So how to do that? So if Jboss, once you install Jboss, if you want to go with the standard mode, you have to use profiles. If you want to go for domain mode, you have to use domain controller and host controller, domain.xml and host.xml files. Okay. Now let me go for the practicals. Okay. Now go to the OPT. Already we installed Jboss in OPT. Under OPT, go to the Jboss. Create. Here we have Jboss AP 7.1. I will take 7.1 now. Okay. Go to the Jboss AP 7.1. Here we have a only standalone directories. We do not have a other directories. Okay. This is not so properly. You can leave it. Go to the Jboss AP 7.1. Note here we have standalone directory and a domain directory. So if you go with the standalone cluster, you have to use standalone directory. If you are going with the domain mode, you have to use domain directory. Okay. Now, if you want to start Jboss with the domain mode, how to start it? Go to the bin directory, Jboss home bin directory, and give ls -lrt ls command. Here we have lot of files, executable files. Okay. Want to start, if you want to stop, if you want to restart, if you want to go with CLI mode. So you have to manage these commands to the domain mode in standard mode as well. Now, if I want to start JBoss by using the standalone mode, how to start it? By using standalone.sh command, we have to use and we can start the JBoss. If I want to start the JBoss by using domain modes, how to start it? We have a command called domain.sh. Domain.sh. Now I will start the JBoss by using domain.sh. Okay. You can observe here when JBoss is started with the domain mode, by default, server 1, server 2, server 3. Three instances will be created automatically. Server 1, server 2, okay. Server 3, that is active or passive. Whenever it requires, it will active. Otherwise, it will not display here. Okay, I will show that in console. Okay, server 1, server 2 has been started when you are starting JBoss with domain mode. By default, domain mode can have server 1, server 2 or the instances or JVMs. Okay, it is started. Let me go to the duplicate session. Space of again. The domain directory, the log directory. Here we have process controller.log, host controller.log. Okay, what is the date today? May 29, at the 7:26 it is created. 7:26 is the running time. When it is created, May 29, 7:24 it is created. Process controller.log and host controller.log file. So we can see what are the information is available in process controller.log file. We'll do the cat for this. See here, Process controller.log file is having the information about instances. Okay, instances. So when the server 1, server 2 instances are starting, okay, when it is stopping, that information it is managing. Okay, whenever go to the host controller.log file, okay, check the host controller.log file. All the information like when Jboss is started, when Jboss is stopped, okay, what is the host controller is active or not, domain controller is active or not, all the information will be available in host controller.log file. Now svd command ps hyphen here pipe grep java. Let the screen burst on so that ps hyphen here pipe grep java. You can see here process controller, host controller. This is a server 1, server 2. So whenever start Jboss automatically by using domain mode, whenever start Jboss by using domain mode, host controller and process controller will be started. If you do not have host controller, process controller, Jboss will not be started. With the help of host controller and under host controller we have server groups. The server groups can maintain instances. Okay, this means server 1, server 2, server 3 like that. Okay, now we'll open the admin console for this. Before opening admin console, we have to add a user for that. Okay, go to the bin directory. Already we added in standalone mode, so now also we can add no problem. Go to the bin directory, add user.sh. Now open the admin console. http colon double forward slash 9990 / console. Username is admin, password of the console. Okay, okay, here if you want to deploy application, you cannot deploy here. Here, if you observe that standalone environment and domain environment, we have different options. Go to the configuration. Here we have profiles. Okay, default profile, full HA profiles. If you click on HA profile, here we have data source. You can create data source. You can manage it. Okay, go for runtime. In runtime, we have a host and a server groups. You click on hosts. We have master. Our master we have a server 1, server 2, server 3. Server 3 is active or passive like if it is required automatically, if you want to start it you can start it, if you don't want you can stop it. By default server 1 server 2 will be started when you start Jboss by using domain mode. Here you want to start the Jboss now, also you can do it. Click on start confirm. Okay, so it is already running. Okay, so we know that. Click on master server start. So first you can go for server groups. So if you want to start instances in Jboss domain mode, first of all we have to check the server groups. The server groups are up and running, then only instance will be up and running. In server groups we have a main server group, other server groups. If you click on host, you go with master. Here you can see that server one is mapped to main server group. If you click here, see server group name is main server group is using. Okay, so if you go with second server 2, can view. Here you can see that main server group. Server 2 also using main server group. If you go with server 3, you can view it is using other server group. Okay, this is using different server group. Go to the server groups, check main server group. Here we have instances. Click on other server groups. Here we have only one instance. It is stopped. Here we have one instances. If you click on view means, okay, you can see the information about instances. How to start server groups here? Here we have a main server group. If you want to start it, you can start it. We have other server group. I will start other server group now. Server group start succeeded. That means server group start operation initiated correct only. Okay. Now click on this server 3. Click on server 3. So if it is already started, how you know that? Click on this. Go to the host. Go to the master. Click on server 3. Click on view. Okay. Operation. Click on runtime. See here, if you put the cursor on the server is running, you can see that information. Okay. If your server 3, server is running. Server 2, server is running. You can see that information right side portion also. If you click on that, you should get the information. That is that. Okay. If you want to stop the instances here, click on We click on down drop, and we have option called stop. You can stop it. Server is not running, means it is stopped. Okay, so these are the okay. Now if we want to create server groups, we create a server group. Before create a server group, we have to create a host. Okay, host controller, or else you can have only one host controller. We can have multiple server groups. You can add server groups. Create server group. I will create server group. Test server group. Test server group. CRVP. Profile. Select the profile. I will select the full HA. Socket by name. Okay. Full HA sockets. Server group. Test server group has been created. Okay. Here, click on this, and we have a servers list. Servers here. We want to add servers. Click on add. Create a new server. Means instance of JVM. Create a JVM. I create JVM like test JVM. Test JVM 1. Okay, where it should be created master slave. We have only one host controller. We can select master only. Server group. Which server group we have to provide? Already we selected our test server group here. Port offset. Port offset I will give 300. Okay, same. Successfully added the master. You want to start it? You can start the JVM. So whenever you start JVM, okay, go to the process controller. See here the log file. Test JVM. Starting the process. Test JVM. Okay, registering test JVM. So which log contains this information? See here we have a okay. I stop it. Okay, start the domain mode again. So once you make a changes, before making changes, we have to stop a JVM means JVM. We can have to stop a Jboss. After make a changes, we have to start it. Okay, whenever doing console, not required to stop it. Okay, once you made a changes, we have to restart the instances. Restart means stop and start it. Okay, now you can see that server 1, server 2 are registered. Go to the console, refresh it, go to the runtime. For the server groups, we have a test server group. This is the test JVM. Start it. See. So which log file it is? Host controller log file. Host controller log file contains information about server groups and instances. Okay. Now I have already opened duplicate session. Go and verify in the domain. Here we have a log directory. Here we have a host controller. Open the host controller using cat command. See, you can see the same information. Registering this is JVM 1. Okay, fine. Now we have process controller.log file also. Open the process controller.log file and see the information what it contains. See, starting process server 1, server 2. We started the test JVM 1. So it is started registering with the process controller, host controller. So process controller contains, so how many processes are starting, how many processes are unregistering. So if I stop one of the JVM, see what will happen. The main server group, server one, go and stop it. So as time interval, no need to provide any time interval. Not running. You can see that information here at space for process controller at top right. See, stopping the process, server one. Server one process, server one finished with the exit status of 0. So it is not running. So it contains the same information. Okay. You trigger stop operation. When you trigger stop operation, you take that. Okay. This trigger stop operation starting the server one. Once it is start, you can see that information here. Okay. Server stopped finished. Okay. Now if I start server one again, if I want to open running log file in Jboss or any of the application server, the command tile-l process controller log file display. So running log file content. Okay. Now what I will do, go to the other server group, have server 3. I will start it. Okay. You see the same information here. See, starting process server 3. Okay. It is showing running log file. Now under main server group or test server group, I will start this area. See, stopping test JVM finish it is stopped. Okay. So this is the server group. If you go to the host controller, here we have master. If you want to create host controllers, we can create. Okay. Or else we can add multiple instances under host controllers. We have only one host master. Okay. Once the host controller registered with the domain controller, the host controller will act as a domain controller. Okay. That is the concept here. If you go to the configuration, okay, profile, we have profiles. Okay, for profile, if you want to create a data source, you can create a data source, XA non-XA data source. You can create a data source here, add data source. Okay, custom data source, the ND name, data source name, tested yes. Sorry, the data source name tested yes. JNDA name you can specify Java forward slash test JNDA connect. Okay, detected drivers. Okay, we do not have drivers deploy. Once we deploy the drivers, we can select that. Okay, how to deploy drivers here? Go to the server groups. Okay, I will click on test server group. Here I will add the deployment. Upload a new deployment. Okay, click on next. Okay, add Upload new deployment. Browse application. Okay, go to the file system. Go to the temp directory. Here we have a jar file. Jbc start jar file. Select it. Click on next. Enable it. So you deploy the application. The same information it will be taken care by host controller.log file and ROS controller.log file. Okay, I stop the Jboss. I have started now. Whenever stop and start Jboss application server, whenever starting Jboss application server, host control will be started. Whenever host control started, other server groups, what are the instances are available? By default, server 1, server 2 will be started. If you restart, I will show that. If you stop server groups, all the instances will be shut down. If you start server group, all the instances will be started. If you restart means if you restart server group means what are the instances are available in the server groups will be stopped and started again. We have multiple instances the server groups. Okay. If you get a request like stop the instances, all the instances in the JBoss, what will do? So instead of stopping one by one, if you stop a server groups, only one server group is having, to stop a server group, all the instances will be stopped. Okay. Okay, no problem. You can finish. It's taking so much time. Okay, what are deployments, server groups, the server groups, there is no file is updated. After any deployment, I will do the deployment again. Same procedure, how you are doing in another mode, same procedure. Here we have to deploy the application server groups. Okay, there we have to deploy application instance. Okay, it is taking time. Okay, we can do it right now. So what you observed from standalone environment and domain environment. So if you want to go with the clustering standalone environment, you can have a multiple instances. We have to configure changes in XML files and we have to manage it. And each instance can have single admin console. We have to manage the instances. We have to manage the console for each instances. Okay. In case of domain mode, we have server groups and server groups. We have a number of instances we can configure and create. So if we have a number of instances we are managing, that is called a cluster. We know that. Okay. In domain mode, if you go to the runtime, here we have a host controllers and domain host controller. We have a server groups. We can have multiple server groups. We can create multiple server groups. And our server groups we can have a multiple instances. Okay. So if any one of the instance is down, we have remaining active instances. Application will be up and running fine. Okay. So in domain mode, this is a feature in domain mode setup. If you configure domain mode, whenever required to add instances, you can add easily. Okay. Whenever you want to remove the instances, you can remove it. Okay. If you want to stop all the instances at a time, how to stop it? You get a request like server one, server two. Server one, server two is configured master. Okay. This is a master server group. Okay. If you click on here, You stop the server group, main server group stopped. You can observe here server is stopped. Server 2 also stopped. You can see the server information. Okay. You go and verify here in log file. See the see here. Server 1, server 2 stopped at a time. Okay. If you start it again, if you are starting server group now, okay, not instances, okay. Whenever start server group, automatically server 1, server 2 will be started. Okay, all the instances, for example, JVMs or server instances are configured under server group. Under server group. If you stop server group, instance will be stopped. If you start server group, instance will be started. Okay. So these server groups are configured. These server groups are configured to the host controller. These server groups are configured to the host controllers. Okay, master and slaves. Who is the master here? Domain controller is the master. Once host controller is added to the domain controller, host controller will be act as a master. Okay. Here we have a master. Here we have a. If you want to restart the host controller, you can restart here. Okay. What is reload here? Reload means if whenever you do the changes, okay, if you want to reload the configuration, you can do the reload action. Okay. Now if you restart the host controllers, you can restart it. You can see the same information here. Okay. See, stopping and starting. Restarted and started. See all the information. Whenever you stop the host controllers, you stop and start it again. All the instances, other host controllers, or how many instances are there? All the instances will be stopped and it will be started. You see the same information in process controller.logfile as well. Okay, this is what a domain controller, domain mode. Okay, do you have any doubts in domain mode? We clarify once here. Jboss domain mode. Okay, you see the picture here. Okay. Domain controller can have a host, multiple host controllers. This is also one host. This is also one host. Once domain controller having multiple host controllers, under host controllers we can create a server groups, multiple server groups. In server groups we can configure multiple instances. Okay, we can manage the instances by using server groups. The server groups are managed by host controllers. Host controllers are managed by domain controller. This is the architecture of domain controller, domain mode. Okay. Now, what is mean by domain controller? Okay. Okay. In domain mode, all the servers are considered part of domain. There is one central config repository for the whole domain. Everything is done centrally like SPA. With a domain mode, you have four components. That is one of the component is domain controller, second one is host controller, third one is class controller, fourth one is application server controller. Okay. Domain controller is called a domain.xml file. Host controller is called a host.xml file. You can see that information here. Now, okay, go to the domain.xml file. Under domain, go to the configuration space configuration. Go to the configuration. Here we have a domain.xml. Open the domain.xml file. You can have the command domain.xml. Here you can see that. Okay, domain.xml file, what it contains, what was starting of domain. Hmm. Okay, you get domain.xml file, starting content. Okay, here we have a data source subsystem. If you configure any data source subsystems, that information will be stored in domain.xml file. Okay, you can see the host controller also here. Host control details. Okay, subsystem, other subsystem called security. Okay, and okay, what are the other subsystems it is having? What are okay, okay. You can go to the host controller, character space host controller, host.xml file, and that's allotting host.xml file, cat space host.xml, host.xml. If you go to the host.xml file, you see here server 1, server 2. The server 1 and server 2 are configured with the what is the server group? Server group name is main server group. Under main server group, we server 1 and server 2 has been configured. Okay. If you go with the test JVM, the test JVM is configured under test server group. Test server group. So this all the information is available under host controller. Host controller. So you can see the host controller here. Okay. So this is the domain controller, and the domain controller started here. On a domain controller, you can see the host controller details. Okay. Here you want to change heap memory values. Here you can change the heap memory values, minimum and maximum particular host controller. Okay. Okay. Go to the servers. And the servers will have instances. Okay. So how many instances we have? All the instances will be configured under servers to give the predictability. On our Jboss home domain, Jboss home domain servers, we have all the instances. Go to the one by one. Server 1 instance. In server 1 instance, we will have a log directory. Go to the log directory. In log directory, we have a server.log file. So Server.log file contains information about the JVM, information about the JVM, when it is starting, when it is stopping, when it is restarting. Okay, any configurations or changes are done or not. So that kind of information will contains server.log file. If you open server.log file, okay, I will use the tail command, tail -100f means it will display the last 100 lines of the file. See, when it is started, when it is stopped, all the information it is contains. See, Jboss instance is started. When it is started, that kind of information. Server is now live. So all this information will be contained in server.log file only anyway. Okay, in domain mode or standalone mode. If you want to see particular JVM status, you have to go to the server.log file. You have to check whether it is started or not, stopped or not, any issues are there or not. You have to verify in server.log file only. Okay. Same thing. If you go to the another server, okay, create space a test server. You have created a test server. Go to the log file. Tail hyphen 10m. Tail hyphen 10m means it will display last 10 lines with the running log file. Okay. It stopped. The bus is stopped. One verify in console as well. If you have any doubt to stop or not. Test JVM server is stopped. Okay. Server 2. Okay. If you want to start it, already host controller is stopped. Okay. If you want to restart, you can restart. Already restarted. Go to server groups. The server group is started or not. Okay. Test server group. I will start it. And the main server group also I will start it. Whenever start server groups automatically, you see here. See, we are under server 1. Test JVM log file. Whenever you started it, automatically it capture that information when it is starting. Okay, this is domain mode.